Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak. And now, of course I mentioned a few things that I might have critiqued pretty badly on hard shell luggage, but here I'm talking about cheap items. Items that have cheaper prices on them. Of course, there are items that you can see together, oftentimes depending on what place you go to. One has a more expensive price put on it, and the other one has a cheaper price. But this is mostly dependent on whatever company they come from, or how they're made, or how common they happen to be. Take a power strip, for example. A common one that happens to have multiple AC outlets on the same plank, as well as a little switch, which would actually help to also be a surge protector, depending on what kind of outlet you happen to be using on the wall, or otherwise. A common power strip would be shaped more like a rectangle, a really long one, kind of like this, but most of the time it doesn't happen to do as good, because most of which they tend to act more like knockoff items and the like, and it can kind of be a disappointment around here. So in that case, it probably wouldn't really be worth your money all the time. That's why I would personally recommend that if you ever come across any certain items of which they happen to have some higher prices, then don't go up the ladder too high. Otherwise, there could be a time where you might end up faster and broke before you very know it. As fast as it could possibly be. Of course, you'd probably want to be somewhat conservative about your spendings, but at the same time, it would certainly be right to not go for the cheapest items possible, because most of the time they happen to be knockoffs served by somewhat exportation. But in this case, whenever some things are exported or imported into other countries, it just depends on what they were made of and how they were made in their original factories or manufacturers. But the way I tend to see all of this, some knockoff items might be worth it, others might not. But this is mostly dependent on what happens. Now, going back to the power strip thing, of course, I tend to have a few different cheaper ones that I usually get from Walmart or Target. But most of the time, whenever I tend to buy some things from Walmart for cheaper prices, they do happen to serve their function absolutely well. There's probably some sort of endorsement or licensing that takes place before they're even allowed to come into any of these departments, in which that the companies happen to analyze them at some point, probably take them out of their original packaging at some point, and have them tested just to ensure that they might meet the quality and safety standards, so customers won't really have any accidents when they're buying them. But you know, this could in fact defeat the purpose of having to recall, so the manufacturer would be able to simply have themselves some time to be able to correct certain mistakes out there, like if a power strip had no surge protectors by accident or on purpose, or if they had something wrong with the type of cabling that was on the inside of the cord, or of course if any of the AC outlets had been deformed at somehow or at some point. And now, I guess not all cheap items might be worth your money, but the way I see that some cheap items, they could be worth the price tag that you'd have to pay for them. But in any case, I'd suppose it'd be best to do some research before you'd be able to know what you're getting. So in that case, I guess this is probably just going to be goodbye again. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.